You are listening to Homeschool Moms in Business, where I help homeschooling moms gain clarity and create effective, systemized business plans around their creative passions, empowering them to confidently launch and grow their businesses while only working 10 hours or less a week. I'm Samantha Welch, a homeschool mom and creative business coach who turned my photography passion into a thriving business, all while keeping my schedule manageable and family-centered, and I'm here to help you do the same. I am so excited to have Stephanie here with me today. We are going to talk all about health and how that plays a role in us being the best moms and business owners that we can be. So, Steph, introduce yourself, or do you go by Steph? Sorry, I just threw that out there.
I go by Steph, Stephanie, Dr. Steph, whatever.
Well, then introduce yourself, and I'm excited about this conversation.
So my name is Stephanie Perez, and I am a pelvic floor physical therapist. I am a mom of 3. I have 3 kiddos. Sophia is 9, Isabella is 7, Dylan is 4, and everybody's about to go into their birthday turning time. So it's the holidays and birthday celebration time in our house. And then I have my husband is Frankie Perez. We've been married for 15 years. And he is a head baseball coach at a big high school here in the Birmingham area in Alabama. I created a business. It's called Empowered Wellness, and it's a women's health wellness center in the Birmingham area. And we specialize in pelvic floor therapy. And then we also just take care of the whole woman. So we help people with, hormones, fitness, nutrition, massage therapy, root cause healing. We have a holistic nutritionist on staff who helps us with kind of some deeper diagnostic testing. So I've been a business owner for about 4 years now, almost 4 years now, with truly getting it started and going 2 years ago. So I have a dog. He's 1. His name is Duke. And that's just trying to control the chaos.
That is so awesome. Duke is a very appropriate name for someone in Alabama.
There you go.
I love it. So what got you kind of on the business journey? Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? And your ages of your kids, you started this like in the throes of like pregnant with maybe your last one?
Yeah. So I say that this is a very God-directed path for me because I never wanted to be a business owner. My friends would say, you should start your own company. I'm like, no, thank you. I just want to love on my patients and go home and not worry about the rest. So started, in the traditional physical therapy world, working inside of, typical corporate type clinics, and then had my first 2 children. And then after that is when I really started to feel the pull to specialize in pelvic floor. With having the 2 girls, going through 2 pregnancies, as someone who really liked CrossFit and working out, kind of navigating that world, and then going into two postpartums. Then how do I become a postpartum athlete? So a lot of my own personal journey and research. And then while I was pregnant with my son, which was also a surprise, we weren't planning on having any more children. I just really felt God putting it on my heart to do something more, something greater. I did not feel that in most traditional PT clinics who offer women's health are able to really do it justice. The way that women need to be served and the space that needs to be held and the privacy that needs to be available was just not there. Plus, women's health physical therapists are not very common. And so a lot of people would be driving from far away. We would get a lot of cancellations because, all things come up that make moms have to cancel their appointments. So, kids get sick, childcare falls through, you name it. So in my 9th, month of pregnancy, I kind of I created a website. I thought, well, if I can just kind of create a website to blog on, to share information, and then going into this next postpartum with maternity leave, maybe I could serve some people virtually, during their kids' nap time, and even if one of the babies are playing right there. So that's kind of how it all started. I had my son in 2020, and then as I was starting to become kind of ready to start seeing patients, that's when COVID hit. So a lot of people wanted virtual care. And so I was able to help, bridge that gap while people were figuring out what they wanted to do with their health and in-person appointments and whatnot. And then it just started growing from there. I started doing home visits, and I would go see moms in their houses so that they could put their baby down for nap, and I could just do their appointment right there. Or, we'd have the toddlers playing on the floor with blocks while we were doing mom's appointment. So just trying to find ways to help moms remove the barriers that prevent us from taking care of ourselves as working moms,
Mm.
wives, and you name it. And then when my husband had a job change, we moved to the Birmingham area. And that's where I officially made the jump from the corporate PT world. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I'm going full on. And so that's when I started Empowered Wellness as my, full time gig, which I say full time is the F word I don't use anymore because I just don't think mom should be working full time. It's too stressful. We just don't need to do it. That's a whole other podcast conversation that we could have. But yeah,
Yes.
so then I've just evolved, and I was kind of working concierge in people's homes and working out of some other professionals, clinics, midwives, and chiropractors. And then I opened up my own brick and mortar about a year and a half ago. And it's just really grown. Since then, I've added another PT who specializes in pelvic health, and I've got our massage therapist and our holistic nutritionist. So just to have this greater goal to have a comprehensive women's health center where women can come and find that space and hope and information for healing and be able to access, the different types of professionals we might need for, supporting us in our lives.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, okay, that's a huge commitment with 3 kids and
Yeah.
everything. So, give me like a little rundown of a day in a life for you. Like, how do you balance having your kids and being a present mom, but then also having your clinic and everything?
I always I never really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom per se, but I also wanted to be present with my children more. So that was another big driver for me to open up my own place and create my own schedule. So at the time, my son was still a toddler, and he would go to school 3 days a week. So that was my answer to work life balance is I'm going to work in the clinic 3 days a week. My girls were in elementary school, so they were in the full time 5 day a week, and then the other 2 days that during the week, I would be home with him, and we would do our time together and go to the park and all that. And so for a while, that was kind of my answer to the work life balance. I would work on Mondays. I would work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the clinic. And also I would not work until 5 anymore. I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to be able to be home when my girls get off the bus, help them transition with their homework and snack. And then on Tuesdays and Fridays is when I would be home with my toddler. And so we did that for about 3 years. And so this year is the first time that he is in big boy 5 day a week school. And so that was another thing I wanted to keep that boundary for myself was I feel like my instant need is, well, I have free time. I need to fill it. That means I probably need to work more. I need to do more, but I'm trying to, and I'm not always great at this, but I'm still trying to keep, like, today's Tuesday, so it's one of my off days. So I'm still trying to hold that space for myself to be able to, do some housework or just meet a friend for coffee or whatever I want to do. I try to take a nap, honestly. I try to lay down. I try to lay down for at least an hour on my off days just to give my nervous system some time to calm before the crazy starts again. But I feel like
Yeah.
as a working mom, coming from someone who used to work, 5 days a week to now a 3 day a week plan, that feels really good. I'm still, doing that purpose that I went to school for and that I want to do to serve the community, but then I'm also able to be home more to serve my family.
Yeah. I love that. Most of my audience is more like homeschool moms, so their kids are with them all the time. But I want to talk about like because I feel like principles are across the board. We need as moms, especially like we've got to prioritize our health. So give us like just like some really practical like daily tips because sometimes like me I was like prioritizing my health and now I'm totally out of the habit and so I need some really small tangible things that I can do at home with my kids around, that will help me prioritize just getting healthier.
So the first thing I would say is to get up earlier. So even typically now, even on my off days, I still get up at 4. So my husband and I will get up at 4 in the morning and we'll go to the gym. We usually try to get there about 4:45, and that way we can prioritize the workout. So for me, if I save my workout for the end of the day, it's just not gonna happen. There's too much that's gonna
Yeah.
get in the way, with kids and life and sports, and then by the end of the day, I just don't have much left in me that I want to work out. So really prioritizing that time for fitness in the beginning of the day is my number one recommendation. So, no matter depending on what your life looks like and what time the kids are waking up and homeschooling schedules are beginning, whether that's you waking up at 4 or 4:30 or 5 or 5:30, around the board, but waking up, an hour before it's time for you to be there and present with your kids, that's what's going to help you prioritize that movement. And, if you have a gym membership, great. If you have a garage gym, go in the garage and do that. Or even if you're just in your living room floor, with a yoga YouTube video. Like that is so important to have intentional time that you have blocked on your schedule that is for you, that is before everybody else's needs. That's what's going to help you be the most successful with actually getting it done. That's my number one thing. Now, for my moms who I see who are having like little babies at home that might not be sleeping well, for the moms that, are not always getting a full night's sleep, we can't always
Yes.
say that he recommends is called habit stacking, and it's pairing things like new goals, new habits with things you already do in your day. So,
Mm.
if you've, got the kids sitting down for breakfast, everyone's at the table, while you're sitting there, use that time to practice some breath work. Go ahead and kind of set your intention and some calming and inputs to the body. Or we've got the kids at the table, everybody's doing some worksheets or they're doing something on the computer, the tablets. Use that time to do 30 squats, 30 push ups, things like that. So that way, or if you got a nap time where like, okay, the two toddlers are going to be down and I have an hour, then, spend the first 20 to 30 minutes of that, the first of it, in the floor going through, a hip strengthening routine or some yoga. And then, I like for you to build in rest as well. I think scheduled rest is just as important as scheduled exercise. So if we can pair kind of these new habits with things we're already going to be doing through our day anyways, it doesn't feel as heavy when you're trying to take on, especially with, the new year coming up. A lot of people like to try to make some new
Yes.
schedule changes or, some resolutions or goals, however you want to call it. And so for us to be successful as busy moms, we have to make it as easy as possible and and having increased access to the ability to do the thing. So those are my main recommendations as far as a fitness and movement kind of thing. But what goes along with health, if I can kind of move on from there,
Absolutely.
the other things, controlling your controllables. So, we're talking about fitness and movement, yes, on ideal days, but some days you've got sick kids, you're not sleeping, you've got a million appointments and you just didn't get it done. So what can we control? So start the day with, a big jug of water. So I feel like the less you have to refill your cup, the better it is. So I actually prefer a big thing like this. It's a 64-ounce jug. So I know that if I drink one of these a day, I've achieved my water goal. So, or maybe you have like a 40-ounce Stanley or whatever. So, like if I can drink two, then I've achieved my goal. So, really prioritizing your water intake, a slate clean. All right, I've got to get in my 64 plus ounces of water. Like that's just part of the daily things that you have to do. And making sure we're doing electrolytes in the water as well. So that way you're keeping your hydration a priority. When we don't have proper hydration, and especially we need those minerals and electrolytes, then that's going to affect our hormone levels and our energy levels. And
Mm.
so, as busy moms who need to, because we're doing all the things, we've got to support ourselves on all those levels. And so, being able to drink water is simple, and it's a very easy thing you can do for your health. Protein. And so a lot of times, when we're cooking kids our breakfast, their breakfast or their lunches, we might eat the scraps, what's left over on the plate, and we're not actually sitting down and feeding ourselves. Already when it comes to food and really prioritizing protein, especially that first meal of the day. So when you're making the kids breakfast, make sure you're making yourself breakfast and make sure it's going to have a big giant dose of protein. So something that a lot of women don't realize is that we need at least 100 grams of protein a day. And that's like bare minimum. And a lot of women, we talk eating or you're taking kid to their next activity. So if we can especially start the day with a 30 to 50 gram dose of protein, so that's, 3 or 4 eggs, some Greek yogurt with berries, adding, some turkey bacon or some chicken sausage or something on the side. That will help to keep your blood sugar regulated. And so that's the other thing from an energetic and hormone standpoint is we want to really have our blood sugar regulation in check. So whenever we have these spikes and these drops of our blood sugar, that's when we start to feel our different feelings. So I'm feeling sluggish. I feel like I always want to lay down and take a nap around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I have a big sugar craving at this certain time. Those are types of signs that your blood sugar is kind of on that roller coaster. And so if you can prioritize protein, especially in the beginning of the day, but making sure that you're eating multiple times a day, you get 30 grams of protein, that's going to keep your blood regulated, which will then help your energy levels stay more consistent, which will then help you feel better and feel like you can be there more present for your kids. So sorry, rambled a lot, but in a nutshell.
No, that's so fascinating. I just literally listened to you and like identified about 3 or 4 problems in my life because I cuz I don't eat breakfast at all and I'm always and then I end up getting cranky about noon and then I'm like, "Why am I so irritable?"
Yeah.
And it's probably because I am not like prioritized I don't prioritize protein intake at all. And I love the idea of adding electrolytes to your water. That
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. So that is super practical things that can literally just be like a grab and go if we need it to
Exactly.
be. So I love that.
Anything you can do to increase access is going to make it easier. And I can send you, I have a link. So, there's a ton of electrolytes out there. So everyone's always like, what do I choose? So we want to make sure that you're just choosing something that is, no added sugars, no dyes or chemicals. So I really like the brand LMNT. It's like the letters LMNT. They're a good brand. And I have a link with a code that can give you a free variety pack if you purchase. So I can send that to you. You can put it in like the show notes if you
Yeah,
wanted. And
absolutely.
then the proteins that I recommend are one of them is called Just Ingredients. It's a very great high quality protein that's made from like organic grass fed whey, and there's no added sugars or fillers or dyes. So that's a really great high quality one. It's in like a bag with a powder and a scoop that you can either just mix it in like a shaker bottle, or it's really nice if you blend it up with some frozen fruits. But to make it even easier, I also recommend having grab and go options available. So you're literally like, I don't have time for scoops and powders and all of that. So,
Yes.
so I think if you have some grab and goes, then that's going to make it ultimately like there's no excuse, right? So I like the Fairlife protein bottles, and then I like the Orgain protein. So those are like you just keep them in the fridge. I keep mine in my downstairs garage refrigerator. So it's literally like I'm walking right past it to get into my car. So it's like, oh, let me grab a protein shake real quick and I can drink it on my way to pick up my son, on the way to take them to wrestling or soccer. It's just, we got to make it easy so that we can get it done.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I think that's one of the most true things about just keeping everything in balance, basically, which balance is such a loose term, but making it easy. And I love that you brought up like the habit stacking where you start doing things with things that you're already doing. So that's awesome. I love this. This is so great. I'm literally going to leave here and start treating my body a little bit
There
better.
you go. We as moms, like we are just the ultimate caretakers. We're always thinking about others and we're taking care of others and we're putting ourselves on the back burner. But for us to be the best moms that we want to be and the best wives that we want to be, or the best contributors to society, wherever we are in our life journey, we have to prioritize ourselves and our health. And that's not in a selfish way. It's not like, no, I'm not going to go watch you play your sport because I'm going to go get a massage and a pedicure. It's not like in that selfish time way. It's that
Yeah.
I need to fuel my body and my health so I can feel good and I can be good for you. And so kind of redirecting and shining a different light on self-care. I think it has a bit of a bad rap. It's like, oh, it's manicures and pedicures and massages and bubble baths, but self-care is about those foundations of your health and taking care of that. And that's sleep, control the controllables. If we're in a position of life where we can sleep, please do. Don't stay up all night scrolling on the phone. Sleep, it's nutrition, and that's prioritizing protein and good fiber sources and prioritizing fitness or movement, whatever that looks like. But I do need to say a little caveat about the movement is women, we've got to lift weights. It's extremely important. I'm in my last year of my 30s, and for any of your listeners that are in their 30s and plus, we actually reach our peak bone mass at the age of 31. So after the age of 31, our bone strength naturally kind of declines. We're not going to keep as strong in our bones. And we actually start losing some of our skeletal muscle around the muscles of our pelvic floor after the age of 35. And so knowing that these
Mm.
types of natural aging processes will happen in our 30s are the time to really start getting ourselves in check and start doing some self evaluation of like, how am I doing with my protein? How am I doing with my fitness and nutrition? So that way, as we get in 40s and our perimenopausal years, and as we go through menopause and be 50 plus, we will have a successful life transition. And it doesn't have to be scary. This could be a whole other episode too about menopause and menopause. It's one of those things that it's big. Soapboxes now is really trying to speak to the women in her 30s. You have to start preparing now for your menopause. And menopause does not have to be bad and scary. It has a whole negative light on it. It doesn't have to be hot flashes and night sweats and changes in intercourse and all these things that society and television commercials tell you. It can be a smooth transition if you have foundational health. So if you can start implementing these things, lift out of all these homeschooling years, and the kids are kind of grown and gone, that's not the time that to be like, okay, well, now is when I guess I'm going to start taking care of myself. And I think
Yeah.
that happens so much as a society of women, and the women that I see and I work with, in that 50 plus age range, they've spent their past 20 years consumed in taking care of their family. And now it's like, I've been neglecting myself, and now it's time to take care of myself. Which the good news is it's never too late, but we need to start that now while our kids are little and we're in the thickness of homeschooling and raising and diapers and running to activities and all the things. So sorry, another rant.
No, I love that. That is such a good reminder. I'm all about like playing for the long game, and so I really feel like that's such a good reminder for us, because sometimes we are just so wrapped up in the moment because things seem really big when you have littles and you're just trying to do all the things. So I love that you gave us like the long game reminder where it's like, okay, this is not just for you now, this is for you 20 years from now, so that you can be like the best mom, but also the best grandma and the best business owner, all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, perfect. Oh my goodness. So, do you take people online anymore? Give us a little bit about like your business. Are you just like in office now, or can people like look you up from anywhere?
Yeah, so we are a hybrid care team. So we try to just meet people wherever they are. So we still do virtual consultations. And that's a really great way to get started on even just foundational things. So, and even from a pelvic floor standpoint, a lot of people think, well, how can I do pelvic floor therapy online? There's so much benefit to virtual care, even from the pelvic floor standpoint, but even from a women's health standpoint, just having a conversation like you and I, and we could go over, what does your life look like now? And how
Mhm.
can we start making some little small changes or some interjections here and there just to start improving. So yeah, so we have in-person options in our clinic in Birmingham. We have concierge options to where we go to your home and we cover from North Alabama to Central Alabama. And then we also have the virtual care available as well. So, yeah, main goal is just to try to meet moms where they're at and help them.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm going to leave all of Stephanie's information in the show notes and show description so you can look her up and give her a follow. And I love this episode so much, and I cannot wait to see what you guys take from this so that you can apply this to your life and become even more healthier, better versions of yourself.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
having
Stephanie,
me. I
so
really
much.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, this has been so awesome. Thank you.